Hey, it's Laura with Nelson Farms, and today we're going to can venison. So why not just leave it in the freezer? Why can it? Two reasons. One is convenience, because when you have canned ground venison, you can pull it out and it's ready to go. You don't have to cook it, you don't have to thaw it. It's easy and it makes those weeknight meals fast. Second reason is you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, meaning if you have it all in the freezer and something happens with your freezer, all the meat's gone. We know that because we've lived through that. So now we keep some of it in the freezer and most of it canned. One year, our freezer died and we didn't realize it for days, and all of the meat, everything in there was ruined. So we lost like probably a deer and a half gone. So we don't freeze it all, we freeze some. So let me tell you what you're gonna need. Obviously, you're gonna need ground venison. So we got a deer, we had it ground up, and this is all ground meat. You're gonna, of course, need your canning jars, a lot of those. I'm gonna do a couple of batches. Some salt if you choose. Make sure you get canning salt. I love to have this book handy for any questions I have, and obviously I have lots of pages marked. Oh, but there's my page for canning meat, and I have notes from my previous cans there. Some new ball lids, and there's just some more jars I have, and then you're gonna need a pressure canner. Do not be scared of this pressure canner. If you follow the directions, it's gonna be fine. They're safe. You just have to know what you're doing. So I'm gonna show you how to do it. Also, it comes with a manual that makes it super easy. You're also gonna need a pan to cook your ground meat, because I can mine after it's been cooked. And then I transfer it into this big pot to stay warm. And then this is the pot I'll put the water in and boil it so that we have water when we're ready to can. And there's my helper. Not him, he just wants scraps. One thing I'll say is it's a lot easier if you make sure your meat is thawed. If you're gonna can and your meat is frozen, it's gonna take forever, so thaw it. So what I found is that it takes about a pound of deer meat to fill a quart canning jar. So give or take a little bit, it might take a little bit more. So I'm cooking 8 or 9 pounds just so that I have a little bit extra. And what I'm doing after I cook some, I'm cooking like 3 pounds at a time, then I'm putting it in here just to stay warm. So I'm gonna have a little left over on this first batch, and then that will help me determine exactly how much I need on my second batch. But in general, it takes 1 to 1.5 pounds of cooked ground beef to fill 1 quart canning jar. All of my meat is done for 1 batch. Now I'm gonna boil some water, because you're gonna need to put boiling water over your meat in the can and get your canner ready. So I just have to fill it. There's a little line down there where you see where that black rim is. I just have to fill it that much with water. Also, I put my jars in the dishwasher on a quick rinse so that they'll be clean and hot when we go to use them. And I've got my lids soaking in really hot water. I like to get my station ready before I get started. So I have my funnel, the jar holders, these things, a couple of things to just pick up the meat and move it with. The salt is here, and a little vinegar is here. And my helper is here. So one of the best parts about this is being able to show Clara how to do it. So I'm just gonna walk you through it as she's doing it. You wanna put your funnel in a hot jar. So my jars just came out of the dishwasher. And fill it up with the meat, and you want about 1 inch of head space. So that's typically to about right there. So she's gonna add that meat.
Hopefully that's good.
That looks good. And then we've got hot water back there. So she's gonna add hot water up to that same 1-inch headspace. That looks just about right. And then she's gonna get those air bubbles out by poking that down in there kind of aggressively. And then she's measuring the headspace again, which looks spot on. Adding a teaspoon of salt. That's optional, you don't have to add the teaspoon of salt, but you can. And then we have a paper towel soaked in vinegar, that's the one. And she's just wiping the rim of that really good. So you wanna make sure there's no like particles on the outside or right along that top edge, because that can affect the seal. So then she's gonna lay on the lid. So the lids have been in hot water, and then she's gonna screw that top on to fingertip tight. So, you know, just as tight as she can comfortably put it on with her hand, and then put it in the pressure canner. So for this last jar, we actually didn't have enough meat left to do a whole quart. So we're just doing the smaller jar, which is fine. You can do a pint jar. You just put a little less salt, and it can still cook the same amount in the pressure cooker. So if you're canning different size jars in your pressure canner, then you need to follow the guidelines for the largest jar. So this one's gonna be in the pressure canner a little longer than it needs to be, but that's gonna be okay. So once all of your jars are in there, you want to put on your lid. So to put it on, you just align the V or the arrows, align that, and it will lay down, and then press it like this. You do not want this on there yet. So we're going to turn up the heat. So I've turned up the heat to medium high. This is gonna come to a boil. And when it comes to a boil, you're gonna see, like, it's gonna start steaming up through this. After it starts steaming up through this, let it do that for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, then we'll pop this on there. So my first batch, I cooked 7 pounds of meat, and that made 6 quarts and 1 pint. Just for an idea of how much to use. So for my next batch, I'm gonna cook 1 more pound, and that should make 7 quarts. We'll see. So this has been steaming for 10 minutes. So now Claire's gonna place the little cap on. And what's gonna happen is, that's right, and what's gonna happen is the pressure's gonna start to build, this little thing's gonna pop up, and we're gonna watch it carefully and let it get to 10 PSI right there. That's what we're doing now. We are almost to 10 pounds of pressure. So before you actually get to that 10 pounds of pressure, you can go ahead and turn the burner down a little bit, because it's rising pretty fast, as you can see. Now, it is okay if it gets above 10 pounds of pressure. You just don't want it to fall below 10 pounds of pressure. If it does fall below, you're gonna need to start the timer again after you get back up to 10. So I'm up to 10 pounds of pressure, and I had actually made a note that to stay between like 10 and 12, I need to turn my burner down to the double I instead of the triple I, just to about right there. So you'll have to experiment a little bit and see that perfect little spot so that it stays above 10, but you don't want it to get up like to 15. And now, since the pressure is up to 10, you can go ahead and start that timer for 90 minutes. For the next 90 minutes, you watch it and you make sure that your pressure is 10 or above, but not too much above. 90 minutes is up. So I turned the heat off. Heat is off. And now I'm just gonna wait till this pressure gets all the way back down to 0. Don't do anything until the pressure gets down to 0. Let it sit a few minutes. Then you can remove this. Let it sit a few more minutes. Take the top off. The top will not allow you to take it off if the pressure is not right. So don't even try to take it off before then. Take the top off. Let everything sit about 10 minutes and then remove them and sit them somewhere. You want to sit them somewhere that they can stay 24 hours. Don't move them around. Don't mess with the lids. Let them stay. Let them sit 24 hours. Now the pressure's all the way down to 0, so Clara is going to do her part. Remove this quickly and give it a few minutes. And then we'll take the lid off. Okay, so once your air vent has dropped back down like this, you can remove the lid. So when you remove this lid, you want to be very careful and do it like this so that all that steam doesn't get in your face. Now we're going to let that sit for 10 minutes and then we'll pull them out of there. Start taking them out very gently and place them somewhere that they can stay for 24 hours. So that's it. Let these sit for 24 hours and then store them away. I will tell you that if you store them correctly, they'll last a long time. Also, making it like this versus keeping it in the freezer is going to be so nice on those weeknights when you need to cook like a quick supper. You can just pull one out, it's already cooked, add your taco sauce, and go. Super easy. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you try that. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Thank you for watching. See y'all next time.